Well. Rebecca has dragged me to this podcast to talk about
Life and
life
changes.
and changes and a little bit of drama.
But we're not going to actually
But
talk
we're
about
not
drama.
we're not talking about drama.
We're going to talk about the stress of running a business and the fact that it has been less than a year and we are making changes. Okay, first, hello, welcome to the Queer Vision podcast. I am Becca, one of your co-hosts, and this is
I am Koee of Becca.
I love how normally you do that and I immediately respond and you were like,
I did that on purpose. You gotta give the people a little you have
okay.
to edge them a little.
Okay, so the first thing I think that we should talk about is
I feel like I'm in therapy.
go ahead. You want to lay down?
No.
Okay.
Yes, actually.
You gotta stop.
A spider on me.
Okay, anyway, the first thing that I think we should talk about is the fact that our podcast went from having 3 hosts to 2 hosts. It's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. It's nothing crazy. It's just whenever you have an idea and people get excited about the idea, they're also very excited about being a part of it. And then it takes more effort than they think that it's going to. So life happens.
And sometimes, like, I don't know, things, as someone who's like a fire starter, I would call myself, like, in a, like, good way. I don't know. I love a good project at first, and then it very easily can just, like, dwindle away to nothing. So I can see how that happens. And I think it just comes down to, like, sometimes things are aligned with you for, like, a period of time, and then they're not anymore.
Mhm.
So that definitely happened with, like, some of the people that were in our original team.
Yeah.
So we kind of there's 2 people that were with our original team that aren't working with us anymore, and there's no ill will there. Like, we're still good with all of
Yeah.
them. It just sometimes doesn't
Sometimes it's not the
work
thing.
out.
Yeah, especially since like we're so new, we aren't even able to pay ourselves. Then we're not able to pay people. So this is just fully volunteer. So it's like whatever anybody has time for, including us. So like a podcast takes time. So that's why we're 100% thankful for Arden for editing all of our videos.
Very real.
Because neither of us likes to do it and it takes forever. But yeah, so like we're gathering the people that like would like to do it for as long as they can and as long as they want to and as long as they have energy to. But yeah, so that's why we're just us right now.
And why there's no food questions.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Megan.
Sorry, we
No, we love Megan genuinely. It just
the food questions. We're not going to keep doing them.
we're not chefs. It
We're
wasn't
not.
gonna work.
We're not. I'm sorry.
So yeah, you're stuck with us now.
Okay, so moving on.
Anyway,
That's why you can only see our ugly mugs forever for the rest of your lives. Okay, so let's talk about the one thing that we've always talked about: the fact that like we dove straight into this and we definitely did not make it perfect.
the fact that we dove into this knowing like not really a lot. I think
knowing nothing.
I don't want to say nothing because I feel like we both had bases. Like, I mean, you had a basis in business. I had a basis in business too in marketing when you think about like social media. And also like I already had like my foot in the drag community. But yeah, we're 2 people trying to figure it out with the team of people that we have behind us, which we're really grateful for. I'm not trying to invalidate that. But we're all just trying to figure out how this thing works. I'm a firm believer that when something feels right, it feels right, and you kind of should just go for it. I also just believe that like stumbling,
It's just learning.
yeah, like sometimes you should just go out there and stumble and like mess up and be okay with messing up because it's inevitable and there's only so much you can do. And if you get so scared of messing up or being like, I have to wait till I'm this, or this level, then you're never going to do anything that you really want to do.
And we really saw this and we were like, something needs to happen. Like, no, right. Like having a magazine and having events isn't going to like change our government. We understand that. We do. But we also see how much negativity is coming into everybody's lives right now. And the fact that the only way we're going to keep fighting is if we also enjoy life. So like getting more people's stories out there just felt so important to us. And like having a space where we are happy once a month, everybody can just celebrate and like be themselves is very important to us. And so like you'll see that like our events have transformed every single month and that our magazine is completely different than it looked at the beginning. Like we're figuring it out as we go because we decided not to wait until we could make it perfect because it just won't happen. It's not going to.
Yeah. We all have to start somewhere. And I guess the moral of this part is like, just do the thing. Like, just do something. Like, at the end of the day, like, if you have an idea, run with it. And find the people who maybe know a little bit more than you do. They don't have to know everything. But, like, if they know something that helps, lean into your community. And also, like, yeah, like you said, it's not going to change the government. But I think, like, we're not doing it for that reason either. You know, it's more about at this moment in time where we're at, leaning into the community and building more space for our community is like super important because yeah, the government may not change. Who fucking knows? But at least we know we have each other.
Yeah.
and like creating that space. And just more space is never a bad thing.
No.
Like more inclusive queer spaces is you can never convince me is a bad thing.
No. And even speaking on that though, like needing a space and not wanting it to be perfect, traveling, right?
Yeah.
And then we've kind of transitioned from that.
So I think the biggest like thing with this episode and like what we're trying to talk about is more the nuances of like running a small queer business and doing so with like not many background of like nonprofit or things like that
Or money.
or money or funding or any of those things because yeah, the events like the magazine has transitioned. The events have transitioned drastically.
Mm.
And if anybody's seen that, I mean, if you've been like going to our events since the beginning or you've seen about them, you see the transition and the differences. So, we started working with a venue in our smaller area that we were in that didn't really pan out. We were going to do a traveling thing. We realized, like that really wasn't beneficial as a whole when it came to like actually building funding, which is kind of what we use our events for. I mean, it is to create space and to create a safe space, but also building the funding so that we can, continue to do the magazine and continue to do these things. They both really go hand in hand. So without proper without being able to make anything off of an event
Or losing money on it because
or
we can't
losing money
advertise
on it
well.
is not beneficial to our overall goal, and it's not going to help us continue to sustain to do what we want to do. So we realized it was best to kind of stay in the greater Raleigh area, work out of there, which is what we've been doing. With event planning as well, there's just so much nuance. It's a world that I feel like you have to be in to really understand. I've yet to find a venue that's perfect. I'm going to say that straight up right here, right now, regardless of what anyone thinks. I don't think a perfect venue exists. I think that there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be communication trouble. There's always going to be this, that, and the third. I think where we are at right now is we've found people who have believed in our mission and what we want to do, and they have wholeheartedly supported us. And so with that, we continue to work with them because although the spaces may not be perfect or may not be the top space that everyone would go for, they have stood by us and believed in what we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, we go out of our way to make sure that all of our events are inclusive to everyone and are a safe, fun space for everyone
To the best of our
to
ability.
the best of our ability. And we
Yeah.
will continue to do that. We're not superhuman. We can't control everything that happens in between the walls of a building. I mean, there's two of us.
Yeah. Well, and also like my brain just went two different directions. So like the first thing is like obviously we can't change a venue, right? Like so if a venue is, for example, not ADA accessible, which we realized was for our Alt Pride Fest, it wasn't ADA accessible for upstairs. We are trying to come up with ways that we can modify the space and do like an alternate viewing lounge, which would also help people who can't be in crowds as much. But we also don't have much of an option price wise to go anywhere else in this area that would accept alternative stuff.
That's another nuance too. What we do is not just the cookie cutter version of drag. If you've been to any of our events, you see our social media. If you aren't in the community, we make sure that we not only book kings in every show, we make sure we book people of color. We make sure we book alternative people. We make sure we book as diverse as we can of our cast because we never want it to just encapsulate one type of drag. And whilst it's important that drag is seen in general, and I'm not discrediting that, a lot of times the bigger places or more there's just a huger influx of the more standard version of drag and the more traditional version. And whilst we would not be where we are at without that, it is important for more alternative, newer creatives to also have a space. Because at the end of the day, we're creating art. That's what we're doing this for. And whilst it is entertainment and we all are wanting to entertain a crowd, I think this newer generation of drag is a lot more focused on the art and then allowing that to be entertainment through doing what they feel called to do in their soul and spirit. But yeah, I kind of went on a tangent with that. But price points are hard. Funding for drag events is hard.
And going back to like what you were saying too, like it is so hard to find any space that is 100% perfect. Like we have, no matter where you go, there's going to be like a history with someone or something, right? And so like candidly, like we've heard some news about like every single place that we've looked at having a space. And like I think the most important thing for us, you correct me if I'm wrong in this, but like I think it's communication and willingness to be better. Like I think we can deal with every venue pretty much having like slow communication because we know they're talking to 1,000 different producers, right? Or doing their own events and all this stuff, right? And then when it comes to like hey, somebody said that they felt this way or this way in your events before. Okay, thank you for letting me know so I can do better. Or like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? The reason for this was because like I just don't have the bandwidth to go and find this. That's why I'm hiring people like you to do the thing, right? Or that's why we're opening up the space for more producers to come in and do the thing better than we could do it. And that's like where I think we're like, you know what? I want to believe that people can be better than they were. And if we don't give people the chance to be better than they were, then we're not going to fix anything.
I think like another thing to think is like we're humans. We're just two people and we're making the best informed decisions every time we host an event or use a venue
Mhm.
that we can based on the information we've been given. And it's not always perfect. And like, Rebecca did say, I think there is something to be like people can change. And, if we're offered a seat at a table that maybe it doesn't seem like other people are often offered. Wouldn't it be better to use that seat at the table to pull up more chairs for those people
Mhm.
instead of just breaking the table in half?
And
I
then
don't know.
and then it's still going to
And
be
then,
there, and then
yeah.
other people
And
are going
then
to
other
come
people will
in
just rebuild it.
that they aren't going to try and be
Yeah.
inclusive. Like there is a point of like I think I've heard this talked about with like police where it's like you can't fix it from inside. And it's like sometimes you can. Sometimes you can and sometimes we need to, because if we can't, then we just give up and then nothing gets better.
Yeah.
And like I think that's like our whole goal with this entire thing is to like create more spaces and make sure that more people are involved in the decisions and stuff like that. And so like I don't know, I feel like there's also something to like I don't know, whenever you are like a minority, like we tend to get emotional about a lot of things that happen to us, and we tend to feel like somebody is doing it on purpose. And so like part of me saying that is I don't want anybody to think that if we are making a decision about a space, it's like, oh my God, well, we hate you. We don't care about you. It's this is the only option we have right now to do what we're doing, or we can do nothing. So that's one. But then also like I just want to remind everybody like we experience things through our own lens, and sometimes we don't pay attention to like what other people are thinking and feeling. And so like there are many times like I'm going to go back and talk about like my engineering
Hmm.
experience. I was a woman in engineering and I felt very much like I was outcasted a lot. It was very uncomfortable whenever I was in rooms with a bunch of men who didn't talk to me. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, there were some that was like, it was just like they were uncomfortable, let's be honest. And so they were uncomfortable with me, I was uncomfortable with them. And so it was just awkward. But like, if we're being honest, if I'm being honest, I felt like I was being othered and I wasn't. I just happened to recognize the difference between myself and all the other people that were there. And so like I think that's something that like I was very emotional about it whenever I was in school, and I felt like I was an outcast. I felt like I was being like treated like shit. When really it was like, yes, there were some professors that did that. We will acknowledge those idiots. But for the most part, that wasn't the case. And if I didn't acknowledge that and befriend some of the guys that were there, I wouldn't have some of the amazing friends that I have right now. And they wouldn't recognize that they also have the chance to look around the room and say, who looks uncomfortable? Who can I like make more comfortable, not more uncomfortable, more comfortable in this space with my privilege? So like I think that's like a twofold. Recognize your own, I don't know.
Privilege?
No, like the whenever you feel like
Your
you're
own
outcasted,
internal
your own
bias.
internal, yeah, your own internal like discomforts, your
Mhm.
own internal things.
I mean, as a queer person and as queer people, I feel like we go into the world feeling kind of uncomfortable in 90% of the places we're at, unless
Mhm.
you've like kind of unconditioned that out of your brain. And even I still struggle with it. I mean, we're in a smaller area, and even today, I'm like wearing my little short shorts and my see-through shirt, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to the coffee shop. Is somebody going to be like, you're a pedophile because you're near my child? Like, there's little things like that that go through my brain because of the society we live in.
Yeah.
And it is scary, and it is hard when those thoughts are always beating at the back of your head. And that's also, I do want to say, like, not to, like, we're not trying to invalidate anyone's experience
Yeah,
in
like
any way, shape, or
we don't know
form.
what it's like to be in
Like,
your body.
we don't know what it's like to walk your walk of life or be in your body, same as you wouldn't know what it's like to walk our walk of life or be in our bodies. And I think there's just a lot of nuance to
Mhm.
things, and we're always open to hear anything that people feel like needs to be heard or shared. Our DMs are always open. We will always listen.
And we
And
want to have conversations about it.
yeah,
We want to come up with a way that it can be better.
exactly.
If you've ever felt uncomfortable at a venue that we're at, tell us what happened. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can make the venue a better space. Because think what we're seeing a lot of, and this is like all over, I think we're seeing a lot of, like you said with the table, like it's not perfect, so let's just destroy it instead of recognizing, okay, this is a space that is at least a queer space. Is it a space that's made me feel comfortable? Hell no. Okay. Well, how can I make that better so it does make more people like me feel comfortable instead of, well, let's destroy them because like maybe they don't realize what they're doing, or maybe because they're privileged and they don't understand what they're doing. Well, yes, though it is not our job to tell everyone everything and explain everything. If you want something to be better, all you can do is have a conversation.
And like also acknowledging like we're speaking from a place of privilege,
Yeah.
like we are two white people, like at the end of the day, who at this point are very cis presenting. So I can see how it's maybe annoying and how you might want to be like, just shut the fuck up. Actually, you wouldn't understand. And I get that. That's valid. It's completely valid.
Yeah.
And you could click off of this right now because
You could have clicked off of it like half an hour
Yeah.
ago. We're not even a half an hour in. So
I mean, we're just the moral of the story is we're doing the best we can do. And we can only do what we can do based on the information that we're given. And we are both people who believe that despite all of it, humans are still good people. And at the end of the day, when we really zoom out, which I think is something as a community and that we tend to not do a lot, especially as of late, when we zoom out, you realize that it's really us against the fucking elites. It's really us against the whatever the fuck is happening, the people who are in control that are looking down from their fucking towers and laughing as we fight each other when we should be banding together to stand strong. Because if we tear other people in our own community down, then we're not going to be able to stand strong against whatever comes at us, whatever new law, whatever new bill, whatever thing says that we should just stay hidden in our house. If you're trying to make certain parts of our community be essentially hidden in their house.
yeah, it's just gonna make that it's gonna make their jobs easier
Yeah.
if we like what is that Abraham Lincoln quote that a house divided cannot stand or something like that. Like actually I don't even think I think Abraham Lincoln said it, but I think it's actually from the Bible. So that's uncomfortable. But like it's true though, because like what we need right now, I think, is unity above anything. And like there are disagreements. There are things that people can do to hurt each other. But I think the most emotionally mature thing that anybody can do in any situation is step back and say, why am I hurt? Why do I feel like this? Is there anything I can do to make this better? How do I have a conversation with this person or this group or this whatever to make it better? Is that possible? Will it help? Like, just like all those things and like trying to make it better because at the end, like, just like you said, like if it's okay, well, this group of trans people is over here and then that group of bisexual people is over there and then this group of lesbians is over here. Like, okay, well, that's like 10 people over there, 20 people over there, 5 people over there. Like what versus the entire group of like 50 people actually being able to make a stand and do something. And so like, I think that's like been our goal since the beginning is trying to like get people to experience joy.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like one of the biggest resistance, but also to see like we have more in common than we have different.
Yeah. And like we've said, since if you go back to our first ever episode and hear about us kind of talking about this same topic, if you don't give people chances, nothing will ever change. And whilst it's not anybody's responsibility to bring anything to anyone's face or share any traumatic experience and relive that, in that you have to accept that maybe things won't change as fast as they could or that you wish they would. And even if you do confront the person, it might not change as fast.
Right.
But
or it might not change at all.
It might not change at all, but at least there's a chance. If you don't knock on the door, it's never going to open, kind of thing. I feel like it's the same kind of thought. It's like if we don't try to talk to people and find a middle ground, we'll continue to all fight each other until the whole world just burns.
Yeah. And if we don't at least try to say, okay, you know what? We can't afford stuff, but we can try to use our privilege at this place where we can afford or doing this thing that we can't afford to make it better, to do this thing, to make this group work where we can create a community that is united. Like if we don't at least try to use our privilege in a positive way, then
it's like, isn't that help? Yeah. Like, isn't that the whole point? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a few points of like living this life. And I think one is like curiosity and like trying things and like finding out what fits. And I think another one is like, I don't know, having compassion and like, I don't know, it's different for everybody. But like for me, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we all kind of have a duty to like use what privilege we do have in the ways that we can, if that makes sense. Like
well,
the thing.
and also enjoying life. Like
enjoying life. Like in the not saying, oh, I have this privilege, so I have to be out here doing XYZ all the time, but like within the things that you already enjoy doing, use your privilege and do what you can do. Because I mean, there's people that have, let's just say money, because girl doesn't have it too hot, people may think.
Do any of us have any?
I mean, I hope that somebody that has more money is out there living it up. I hope they're buying the expensive things they want. I hope they're doing this and that because at the end of the day, somebody should.
Yeah.
If it isn't me yet, I mean,
maybe we can just hope the Reaganomics works and it just trickles on down.
yes, but
it's not. Plot twist.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just wish we could all sit in a field and sing Kumbaya and hold hands.
Yeah. I think too, like
And
you and I just very much look at people in such a like immediate positive. So like if, for example, whenever we have arguments, because we do actually argue, it doesn't look like we do. We're perfect, right? No, whenever we have arguments, whenever we have conversations, at first we get upset. And then I think both of us at some point step back and say, what did I do wrong? And then like, yes, that's not necessarily healthy and like an all the time happening thing, right? But we can come back and say, hey, you know what? I probably shouldn't have reacted like this. What you did upset me this way or triggered this thing, whatever. And I think that's like the way that we have been able to like say, okay, well, you're over here, I'm over here. You're very like emotionally driven and very excited about new things. And I'm very much like, I need consistency and I need logic. I am emotional and you can do logic things. It's just, that's not our strong points. And so like, we're all the way over here. We are very different, but then like, we come together with that communication. And I feel like you and I very much like with strangers, when things happen, internalize it rather than saying, you did me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really hard for us to see that perspective sometimes. And like, though there are definitely times where like we have acknowledged, wait, you know what? Actually, that was something they did that was sexist, or yes, that was something they did that was homophobic. It kind of takes us a second to get there.
And I think also, I think that's a good thing to acknowledge too, that we are the type of people who are very positive in heart to sometimes a fault.
Fault to the point where we sit there crying.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword because we do believe the best in most everyone that we meet that we can, and so we always try to give people a fighting chance regardless of maybe what anyone else has said about them. I mean, this is just me being me. I've always been a person that's like there with the underdog. Like when everybody doesn't like a person for some reason, I'm like, well, let me see my experience. Let me see why. Like, I've never been the one and probably never will be the one to just hear everybody say, oh, I don't like this person because XYZ. And then me be like, oh, me either. Let me just rid them off. I'm sorry. But as a person, as a personal standard, that isn't a business standard. That's a me standard. I'm never going to be that person because I believe that there is good in everybody in some way, shape, or form. And whilst I may not be running off into the field, frolicking, holding hands with them like they're my best friend in the entire world, I'm not going to just assume they're a bad person when I don't have any concrete evidence that they are. And if that makes me a bad person, then it does. But that's just where I'm at with things.
No, I think that's a good point. But then like also, I mean, there's a gray area, right? Like there's you can't ignore what everybody says because you need to trust what some people say, right?
Exactly.
Like you're like, okay, if I've heard 50 sexual assault allegations, maybe I need to step back and say, but at the same time, if it's just like, okay, this seems kind of just catty of like, you got emotional or somebody just triggered a feeling in you, or like, okay, well, I'm hearing these things, but I'm not seeing anything that's like substantiated and stuff like that. I want to give them a chance. I want to see. And like, maybe because of our privilege, we won't see that as much depending on the situation. But then also sometimes you can just get a feeling about somebody, right? But then like, again, hoping to God they can be better than they were. So like, maybe this person fucked over people. And then it's like, I learned my lesson and I'm doing everything I can to be a better person.
And maybe that's the reason why, that doesn't hit us.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. I haven't been a perfect person in my life. There's
definitely people walking around that hate both of us
that are going to be like, oh, that's the villain.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think that anybody is living authentically if nobody in your life or anybody in your entire past says you're the villain.
Yeah.
If nobody can say you're the villain, then you're not really living authentic.
You can't please everybody.
Because you literally cannot. Not everybody likes, it's like food. Not everybody likes the same food. Not everybody likes pizza. Not everybody likes this or that. That was a really popular food to choose, but you get my point. Not everybody likes tuna. I love tuna. Give me a little tuna salad.
Nobody likes pineapple on pizza.
I love pineapple on pizza. I see why y'all don't like me. Okay. besides the point. It's just like,
I don't know. We want to be better. We want to help the world be better.
yeah, we want to help the world be better, and we're trying to do that in the best way that we can. I, for one, on a personal level, am just in the era of like being in this at this point long enough to where, like, that was not a really correct sentence, but
Nope, sure
we've been
wasn't.
in this long. I've been in this. We've been doing this long
Start
enough.
over.
Rewind. We've been doing this long enough now. It's almost been a year. I mean,
It has not.
It
It's
hasn't
been
almost been a year.
7 months.
It's been like 7 months. That is long enough for me to, I don't know, living my life. I'm at the point where I do not really give a fuck what anybody thinks. To an extent.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
Because like we care. We want to hear your
okay,
input.
like
we
what
want to
Rebecca
hear your
said,
input.
I want to hear your input. Okay, I do care. I am a reasonable person. You can always text me, please. If you ever have an issue, DM me. Like, I am such a straightforward person. I would much rather someone come to my DMs, ring my cell phone, and be like, hey, this and this bothered me, and here's why.
But to that point, though, we want to hear what you're saying. We want to acknowledge it. We want to see if there's anything we can do better. However, we aren't in the place of taking advice from people whose lives we don't want. And in that, I think we say, like, and this is respectfully, if you are a doctor, I'm not taking your engineering expertise. If you are a man, I'm not asking you, like, if you're a cis man, I'm not asking you about your experiences at the gyno. Like, no, don't tell me which doctor to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's where it comes out with us, where it's like, we are doing something in this area that has not been done to the best of our knowledge that we know of, right? And so, like, we are doing events that are featuring a bunch of different types of people. We are doing them in ways that, like, keep modifying because we're trying to figure out the best way that we can do it.
Like,
now, there's no right way and wrong way.
There's no blueprint.
There's not. And like, we've asked people that have done show producing before for their advice. Some people suggested moving around. We thought that was a great idea. We tried it. It wasn't something that worked for us. We understood where it came from. It didn't work for us. Okay. And then it's like, okay, do we want to do really big shows? Okay. Idea's there. Idea's great, but that won't work for us yet.
And something else to like note just about the drag community, not even just the drag community, the entertainment industry as a whole. If I'm encompassing social media and my experience, like as a social media content creator and like just musician, like everything, people do not want to tell you how the fuck they did it.
No.
Point blank, period. People like to keep things under lock and key just because it's like,
it feels like a threat.
It's this weird, scarcity complex, threatening thing that a lot of creatives have. And I think it's honestly like, I don't care if this bothers somebody. I think it's like a disease.
I think so too.
When you have that scarcity mindset as a creative, it is like a fucking virus or terminal illness that seeps into you and will kill your creativity and ruin it. Because I've been there. I've been there before.
It becomes more of an obsession instead of this is a creative process that I get to share. Like, creativity is meant to grow and ebb and community and come together.
And now I feel like I can proudly say I don't ever feel like I've ever felt threatened by anybody else. I've always felt like I was in my own lane, but I've definitely been to the point where I feel like my creativity needs to be on all the time. And that is the same kind of thing. It's those things like that when you feel like when you start creating for anything more than the feeling of creating, I feel like you lose sight of the vision.
Yeah.
And I think there's also something within that too. There's a difference between implementing your skill and creating. You can implement your skill. You can be a makeup artist and implement your skill and do stuff you don't want to do. It's not for the sake of creating. But when you get on a stage, it should be all this should be to create art. There's no such thing as too much art. There's no such thing as wrong art. There's no such thing as someone who's not artistic. We're all innately artistic.
You just got to find your part, your way, your outlet. There you go. Outlet. Yeah. And I think too, like with both of us, like in the vein of creative, at first I was like, well, no, I'm not in this to create. And I was like, oh yeah, our goal is literally to create community. So like, I felt a little stupid for a hot second in my own brain, but like, whatever, we're moving on from that. I think like both of us, if you came to us and said, I want to do exactly the same thing as you, we aren't going to be like, well, no, why would you do that? Like, okay, create a queer magazine.
Yeah, please.
We want to. Yeah, like let us collab with you. Like let's do it. Let's do it. I will show you exactly how I go about doing my stuff, because what's going to happen is you're going to take my outline. You're going to take everything that I'm giving you and you're going to say, okay, this is what I like to do. This is what I don't like to do. I'm going to do it this way. And then I'm going to change this and this and this and this and this. Like, it will eventually become your own thing. Because what is the imitation is the
highest form of flattery.
Yeah. Like, I would love for you to make another queer magazine and be spreading more voices. That's what we need. That's the literal goal for this. And same thing with the events. I highly doubt that Koe's going to get upset at you being like, Well, I want to do an open stage drag show. Oh,
I mean,
okay.
open stage drag shows were invented when I mean, it doesn't, at the end of the day, it's like, also,
I mean, I didn't invent a queer
yeah,
magazine either.
it's like, you can't be an artist without stealing. Also, maybe controversial to some
I'm gonna say
people.
borrowing. It's not stealing because you're not automatically saying this was only me that did this.
No,
You're inspired by people.
but we steal from people all the time. We take bits and pieces. I think every good artist takes something from somebody that they've seen or
That's
heard or read.
inspiration.
Yeah, and it compiles into a new thing that hadn't existed before because it comes out of them. And I think as long as you're taking bits and pieces but pulling it through your lens, that's like, I don't know, that's powerful and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. And I think to act like at this point there is no such thing as like an original thought. Everything has been done.
The amount
For
of
the most
jokes
part.
that I find and I tell my boyfriend and he's like, yeah, I heard that 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Okay. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's just impossible to do something that's completely never ever been done.
Yeah, as long as it's authentic to you
yeah.
and it feels like something that you wanted to
And
do.
that's what it gets down to is like, it's maybe been done, but it's not been done in your way.
Yeah.
It's not been done through your lens. So
Yeah.
don't throw your lens away. You need to keep the lens. But
The lens can change focus.
yeah, but like collect other things and let them come through the lens. Like,
And I think that's also helping like us having a team, which originally I was very apprehensive about because I was
trust
like,
issues.
not just trust issues. It was more some trust issues, not just trust. Some of it was because I was like, we can't pay people. I was like, it's not fair. It's not fair for them to be doing so much. And like, yeah, we reached out to our friends first because that's the people we know. That's the people that understand that we're not trying to take advantage of people. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you tell me what you can handle, what you want to handle. And some of that's just like, okay, I'm just going to write this one very simple thing every single month. Love it. That helps me out so much. Some of it's just like, hey, I'm here if you would like some help with editing anything. Okay, cool. Like whatever you are able to do helps people and whatever other people are able to do helps you. And I think that's one thing that like I really appreciate you pushing for adding more people because like of course at first it was like okay yeah they're writing articles it's great it's whatever but then like as it's grown it's like okay well now I can count on Ellen if I get stuck on this article and I know that it has a really good idea and like she can just like fix it and she can be like, oh, this sentence, there you go. And then like we move on from there. Sometimes it's Koee is stuck on a thought process for an event, comes to me or talks to Arden in the meeting and is just like, here's an idea. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. And then like all of a sudden 10,000 good ideas pop up because one thing inspired you. And I think that's like the biggest thing right now is like gathering your fucking community. I don't care if it's your sister. I don't care if it's your mother. I don't care if it's Joe Schmo down the block.
And I started to laugh because you were like, I love that you push to add people. So there's one thing about me. It's that if I could give everyone a seat at the table, I would.
But okay, to be fair, yes, I will too. Yeah, I will too.
Everyone.
But I want to be able to also pay people.
Yeah. But like not everyone, because there's some people that I don't want sitting at my table. Like
we need people that have the same vision.
Yeah.
Or similar vision.
Like even like when running a show, that's been one of my biggest like struggles, I would say, like one of my biggest thorns, and probably Rebecca's side more than my own, like because she's the logic, is I love to have 1,010 entertainers because I love the community and I love the entertainers and I love my friends and I love the people that I've met. And
hey, by the way, yeah, I just like added another random entertainer.
like
we had it calculated out perfectly. Every single vendor was going to pay for every single entertainer.
Budgeting has never been my strong suit. But we're getting there. But the point is, like,
we're working on it.
The point is, like, yeah, leaning into your community is really important. And I don't know, that's something that I feel like a good topic to maybe just also touch on is like, I don't know, everything is going to have some sort of exclusivity to it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is any issue or anything that anybody's ever brought up to me, really, because we do try to keep our events pretty like rotated where we get like, it's not the same cast all the time. But
it would get kind of boring if it was.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But there are people that you're going to see multiple times that you've seen multiple times at our events, like Ruby LaCour, like All the Smoke, like Buttons and Backstitch. Like there's people that you're probably going to see multiple times because they're just good Judies, you know?
They're the first people to sign up for stuff because they know that they want to be a part of it. They're also the first people that saw what we were doing and said, this is going to help.
Like Mother Inc. There's so many people. Also, please, if you're listening to this and I did not list your name, just know that I am still using
If I didn't list your name, it's because I don't do well with names, and I know
I
about
also
4
don't
names.
either. It's like I can't forget Mother.
Also, if I see you at an event that is during the daytime, because they'll never see me at an evening event, then
They will.
I will definitely not remember your name because I'm sorry.
Me too.
But yeah, no, I think like having that like group of people is not bad to like be like, oh, this is our core group of people that we can always count on, that are always going to do well at a show, that are always going to like bring their best and always support the other people that are at the show, the young people, like that kind of stuff, that are always going to make sure like, hey, I know Koee, so I know if something is going wrong with one of the other performers, I can go to them, and like the people that are comfortable with us are necessary at shows sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially while we're still getting started and while we're like the only ones running the show.
And I think that also makes like newer people coming into like the shows that maybe haven't performed with us before, like feel even better, because it's like, okay, now there's a person that has performed with us multiple times.
You can ask
that kind of,
questions.
yeah, maybe knows the run of things a little bit more. Like, oh yeah, maybe it maybe feels a little chaotic, but like it's gonna be fine. One thing about me,
That's the reason you're the chaos coordinator.
I've gotten better. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's so much nuance to everything. And I'm gonna be so honest, I didn't want to film this. I didn't want to do this. And I feel better now. And I feel like if you watch the beginning of this episode, if you were reading my body language, it looked very tense. It's because I am probably my worst critic. I am so fucking harsh on myself, and I take things that people say very to heart. And I don't care if this makes me look like a victim. I'm not trying to say that. I know I'm not a victim. Like,
yeah, we don't want to come off as defensive because we're
Yeah.
not defensive. We just want to create a
Yeah.
space and we want to work with people to do it. But also, we felt like we needed to talk about some of the things that we've heard, because it's like, yeah, we are partnering with a venue that is not perfect. We acknowledge that. We know that.
Like, we know that there are things that people have said. I mean, we hear the grapevine. She speaks loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just, I mean, and honestly, and the biggest one for me, I think, is honestly the ADA accessibility. We know that not everybody is going to be able to perform there. We know not everybody is going to be able to see the stuff, but we're trying to figure out how we can make things better.
And I also want to sit here and say this right now to the camera, to whoever's listening, and take accountability for, if you were at Alt Pride Fest, like alternative viewing lounge, there were issues. Okay?
We did.
There were issues, and there was a ball that was a little bit dropped, and I am truly deeply sorry for that, because a lot of that did fall on me. So I'm just taking that accountability here, because I always want to take the accountability where I can. I think we still were able to make it work somewhat. People were able to see it on a laptop, but we didn't think, oh, I need to make sure that this laptop is going to hook to this and this and that, because I haven't really ever done anything like this before. Like, I hadn't really done anything. I think the venue had done it one time prior. So there were bumps.
There was also the sound thing of like, even if
And the
even if it was
sound,
perfect whenever nobody was there,
yeah.
whenever people scream, the microphone like cuts down the sound.
And I want to say, like,
So
we're not camera and sound techs. That's not our
One
thing.
day maybe.
And we
Not now.
did not and do not have anyone on the team right now. And hopefully we will for the next event, or
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
definitely will have something better worked out for the next event. But yeah, back to the fact that we're human. Sometimes the ball is going to hit the ground, and it's going to be like, damn, like, I felt kind of shitty because this didn't happen. And that goes back to the human piece, because all I can do is do better. All we can do is do better than we've done before.
Yeah.
All anybody can do is do better than what they've done before.
And to try and make it better. Like, I think that's where like the willingness comes in. My therapist and I talk about this a lot. Willingness. Like, like when you are upset with somebody for something, and like I'm a big I see the, what is that called, where you see like that somebody could be better, like you like
the rose-colored glasses.
No, could be better. Like you see, like you're like, oh my god, potential. I'm like, I am a very big potential person. Like I'm like, I see the potential in this, I see the potential in that, I see the potential in this person. And like the biggest thing is the potential all there is, or is it that they are actually willing to meet that potential? And like,
and so far,
that's very important for this.
And like, maybe controversial, maybe someone's gonna get mad about this, but so far with the venue that we're working with, I feel like we've seen more than just the potential to be better. I have seen, you know, the want and the energy put behind that.
And we acknowledge that like communication piece is always difficult, just like we said. But like we were also like, okay, we've heard that some of the reason that some people felt a little bit othered from this is because of lack of communication and lack of help doing their event. And like, I think from our perspective, whenever I go in to do an event, and I know you're the event person for this, but like for other events, I have always then like if I'm the one planning the event, I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
So
and I
like
kind of agree.
I feel like if I didn't get specific, oh, I'm going to do this, this, and this from the venue ahead of time, that means that it's my job to make this event work.
Yeah.
And then like also on top of that, I think the communication piece, yes, it could be worked on. We acknowledge that, and we acknowledge it from ourselves as well, that sometimes like things slip through the cracks for us. But like I think that's why we also recognize that like it is difficult being the lead person at a venue, because it's like, okay, yeah, they probably are getting like a bunch of messages. Like they probably are struggling to catch up with these things, even though it is important that we're doing this event.
Yeah.
It's also very important to do the other events.
Yeah.
And so like things do slip through the cracks. And so like what you said earlier, where it's like, I don't remember how you phrased it, but
Sometimes
like
the ball's gonna hit the floor.
not that the closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, like if you
like,
knock if you don't knock on the door, it's never gonna open.
That one, like I think like this is where it's like, don't be afraid to double text people. If you message people multiple times, like 10 times, and they don't respond, yes.
Let me tell you this right now. If you want to get an event done, harass the person.
Yeah.
Not like don't stalk the person.
Don't be mean.
Don't be a fucking crazy person.
Don't be creepy.
But like I think like bumping into people, and maybe this is controversial too, but I think looking and being like, oh, I know this person's putting on this event. I really want to talk to this person. They're maybe harder to reach. I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to network with it. That's networking. Like that's part of this business, especially, but like really any business.
Yeah.
And obviously you shouldn't just like want to talk to people just for networking, but sometimes that is what it takes when people are really busy people. I mean, we even had an interview today that we had rescheduled, and I had a text about it, and I was like, oh, does this day work? And then I missed the message until this morning. And they texted me this morning, and I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, we can still do it today. We can still make it work. But like,
but I'm so sorry for missing it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for missing it because
we're both so busy. And like, that's not a cop out of like, oh my God, we're so busy. We're too busy for you. No, we want you to message us multiple times, because what happens is probably we saw it, left the notification so we would remember to come back, and then forgot to come back because we have 1,000 other things that we're doing at the same time. And so I think that's like the grace that we are also giving this venue is like, we understand sometimes it is hard to get back with people. And like, if you don't have a dedicated person that is only doing communication, it is very hard to message all these different people and do all these different things. We get that.
And also like, and that goes for us too. And especially me, if you've ever talked to me about doing something, if I really didn't want to do it, I'm going to tell you that doesn't seem like a good idea. Talk to me more about it. If there's something that was talked about and then it was forgot, remind me.
It doesn't mean that we don't care.
It doesn't mean that we don't care. It just means that
our brain is like a sieve.
So much this girl can hold. And there's a lot of trauma in there already taking up space. Like sometimes you just have to remind people and not get scared. Like, and I think that also goes back to looking at the positive and like believing in the best and giving people the benefit of the doubt. Because the reality is, it's not that we don't like you or we don't want to do X, Y, Z. It's that we have A, B, C, F, G, X, Y, Z. You know, I don't know why I just went to X, Y, Z, but A, B, C, E, F, G, blah, 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 blah. All of the fucking letters already sitting on the table. And then it's like, oh, girl, now you're coming from over here with something else. And I'm like, and it's a good idea, but it's like, oh my God, like my hands are so full.
And we both acknowledge that we both do have ADHD. So like sometimes, and we manage it differently. So like for me, if you message me, I will almost always immediately respond because I know myself and I know that if I don't respond right away, I will forget. However, if I am working on something and I'm like, I can't look away from this screen because this is the most important thing that I have to do today, and you have messaged me, that notification might get lost. That doesn't mean that I don't care. It means this was my priority today because I had to get this done. Not this is not a priority because I don't care. It's this is not my priority because it's not the most important thing today or in this hour or in this whatever. And like, I think for you, you're coming up with your rhythm a little bit. Like that's, you've never had to sit down and do something like this before.
Not to, once again, not to like be a cop out or be like, oh, I'm blah, blah, blah. But I am 24 years old. Like in some ways, still a baby. Some ways, still figuring this stuff out. Now, I am an adult, so I'm acknowledging I'm an adult and I have to do adult things.
But the adult thing is to figure out how to make it better.
Yeah, is to figure out how to make it better. And I have always kind of just, done whatever I wanted. I'm a hard-headed Aries, true and true fire sign. And the surefire way to get me to do something is to find a way to, this is actually bad, not me telling y'all to manipulate me, but like, if you convince me that it's my idea, I'm going all in. But
I'm not that good. I don't do that.
But it's also not easy to do.
I just say this is my task list and we're going to do it.
And I have gotten better. And yeah, growing up, I didn't have a lot of structure. I didn't really have a parent that was, I mean, my mother also has ADHD. Maybe wants to say she doesn't sometimes, but she does for sure. There's no way in hell she doesn't. If you're watching this right now, mom, you have ADHD. So, and like, I grew up in a house with people with ADHD. My sister is on the neurodivergent spectrum. So like, not only was my childhood unstable, but like everybody also was neurodivergent and didn't really know it or have any kind of care or coping mechanism or help or guidance. So I'm going to stumble, and I have stumbled for
But you're
sure.
also, I think now you're surrounding yourself with people that are holding you accountable, which I think is the most important thing to
Exactly.
do. And I think on my end, though, I was the exact opposite of I had so much structure because, like, though my dad was a Bachelor of Fine Arts, he worked as an engineer. My mom was an engineer. So, like, I had so much logic. And, like, my dad was the one that, like, was the least of it, right? Like, he's the one where you have to tell people, like, you need to tell him that we need to be there 20 minutes earlier than we do.
Can I just say we never sit and look at each other in the eyes?
I know,
and it's
this
been
is really
uncomfortable
weird.
this whole time. And I think that's why I've been tense because every time we're always looking at a screen, looking at somebody else, and we're never really looking at each
No,
other.
every once in a while we will, and then
Yeah.
like it'll be like,
Yeah. But like, I'm finding it very hard for some reason to
I
like
keep
have
looking
a
this
deep
way.
conversation and like look into your eyes. Anyway, I had to acknowledge that because I felt like,
It's like
yeah.
therapy right now. No, but like I think like my dad was very much like the one, like more like the ADHD. That's definitely where it came from, because he is the one where he loses track of time. He is the one like that. But like at the same time, because of my mom being so structured, everything was done. Everything had a rhythm. Everything had a system. And so like whenever I went to school as an engineer, it got even worse. Like I very much definitely gave myself OCD a little bit for literally just found this out.
That's a fun thing to look up and research, by the way, that I learned from a friend when I was in intensive therapy.
And then I learned from Koee and then my therapist.
Is that if you have OCD, it can mask ADHD sometimes. Now, not everyone that has OCD has ADHD. Not everybody that has ADHD has OCD, but sometimes your OCD can be and I'm also speaking as someone who literally has no degree in any of this shit, but just from my personal experience and what I've heard from other therapists.
And now my literal personal
Yeah.
experience of being diagnosed with
Yeah.
both at the same time.
Yeah, like two people that I literally know. OCD can mask ADHD.
Yeah,
So,
it's like a cope. It's
Yeah.
literally you form so many rhythms and so many systems to handle your ADHD because of whatever reason. So like for me, it was I'm in school doing something quite difficult, and if I drop the ball at all, I will fail. And I did fail out of a lot of classes, and I wasted my mom's money, and I failed a lot of things. But like, and part of that was my fault. Part of it was because I just didn't understand the material, right?
Mhm.
Part of it was having the wrong professor, whatever. Part of it was having a sexist, homophobic professor. But like, there were times where I dropped the ball, and so I overcorrected. And like, some of it is kind of healthy, in my opinion, of, okay, I have ADHD and I can't visualize myself actually turning off the stove. Did I do that? So my
Yeah.
system is I walk around it before I leave the house if I know that I've cooked that day to double check. And
See,
that's safe. in my
that feels
opinion.
more like a habit, though. I don't know, but like what OCD
It's
is.
the repetitive thought in your brain
Yeah,
that you don't do
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's the OCD. And that's where like I came up with the systems to stop myself from doing that.
Mhm.
Like literally the other night we got pizza that had a lot of like that pizza that I had today
Mhm.
has a lot of garlic in it.
Mhm.
We left it on the counter and I was like, oh my God, did you put that away before we went to bed? And he's like, no, I'll do it in the morning. And I was like, okay. I was like, what if the cat jumps up there and eats it? And I literally could not fall asleep for like 30 minutes because all I was doing was ruminating on if the cat jumps up there and knocks it off, all of the dogs could have one piece and he could have a piece and they would die because there's so much garlic.
And there
in it.
was meat on that pizza too, right?
No.
There wasn't? Oh.
Oh, there was. Yeah, there was. It was steak.
So y'all were gonna leave
It's
meat
very
pizza
salty.
out
Very
overnight?
salty. Just don't even with me. It's fine. It's
But
fine.
it's okay because my dad would buy pizza and then I'd wake up because he would sleep until like 12 fucking o'clock and not make me breakfast. So then I would eat cold leftover
You know what though?
Domino's.
Okay, here's the thing.
And I never
say this.
died.
I'm gonna say this. We've gotten so obsessed with our fridges that we forget that people actually like lived and survived and didn't get botulism from food that they left out overnight.
That's real.
Now, I'm not saying leave your rice out overnight, but like there are things that are overly
Yeah.
salty that you can leave out because salt is literally a
Well, I
curing
did hear
mechanism.
about a girl who threw half of her tuna sandwich in her like little, she had like a little office
It's
trash.
tuna.
I know, this is crazy actually. I'm spilling this story, but she left like her in like an office trash can and like so it wasn't dirty trash, right? So she left it and then she got drunk and then the next day she woke up after being drunk that morning hungover and she ate her tuna sandwich out of her Subway tuna sandwich out of the fucking trash can. One of y'all may know what I'm talking about because I think this was like a not Tana Mojo, but Tana Mojo's like friend in a video. I don't know how this is stuck with me, but it will never leave because that is insane. That is
Anyway,
insane. I will not eat tuna out of the trash can that's set out for over 24 hours. Y'all are
so
crazy.
anyway,
I know your asshole
OCD
hurts.
OCD can help you manage your ADHD, which is not really
Yeah.
necessarily a great way of managing it, but that's definitely what I've done. And then I overcorrected. We scratched each other.
Be who you don't want to hold hands.
BT phone home. Anyway, no, so like you're very free spirited, and
Uh-huh.
I'm definitely OCD, and I think that we balance each other well.
Yeah.
And I
I would
think
agree.
everybody needs to create their community to balance themselves,
Yeah.
but then also hold themselves accountable in addition to holding each other accountable. And then we
Very
can be
that.
a better world.
Yeah. And also, like, I think inevitably, also another, this video, this is just like a bunch of controversial takes. Y'all didn't hate me. You might hate me more. I don't really care. But
Is it chugging milk? Because if it is, I will hate
it's
you.
not chugging milk. I can't defend Buttons on chugging
I'm
milk.
sorry, Buttons, I
I,
love
I
you.
love Buttons. I love that she could do that, but not me. No, I think that, like, inevitably as humans, there are going to be rooms we're not going to feel as comfortable in. Everyone should be welcome in most rooms. You shouldn't have to go and think because of your skin color or because of your queerness or because this or that, well, I'm not allowed to go in this basic space. But there's going to be spaces that are more geared towards, like, I don't know, there's just not every space is going to vibe with every person.
Yeah.
There's clubs that I've went into that I'm like, ooh, as like an alternative leaning person, I feel like I don't belong in here.
And that
I
doesn't mean
feel
that people were
judged.
othering you.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they were judging me. It just means that, like, everybody else around me doesn't look like me, and that makes me uncomfortable. And that is understandable and definitely should not be something that's happening based on race. And I do acknowledge that. I don't want it to sound like that, but
I'm going to say to a point, because there are spaces, and I'm going to say this like as a woman, I think like having male only spaces, like where it's like, well, women aren't allowed, is a different vibe than having women only spaces,
yeah,
right? And so like it does make sense if there is a space that is geared towards like people of color. And
yeah,
then
no,
like
I would
then
agree.
you and I go in there, we're like, oh, this is not for me,
Yeah,
and like, but at the same time, and we've even seen that with like queer spaces where it's like, okay, well, this is a queer space, but then it's also like, we allow allies, like, come on in,
yeah,
like, as long as
exactly.
you're supportive, like,
And
we don't
it's
want you to feel othered, but at the same time, it's not for you.
And I mean, like, I'm gonna give an example, and I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way, but like, I went to a club like last week, and it was a black queer event. I didn't know that night was a black queer event. Nobody made me feel othered. Nobody went out of their way to say you don't belong here. But there was a part of me that felt like this isn't as much of my culture. Do I really? Is it really fair that I am here, like, I'm not going to participate in some of the things. Like, they were pulling audience to like do Vogue and like do these things. And while I know I could be in ballroom, I don't know a lot about it. That's
Yeah.
not my culture. That's not my history. I don't want to step up and be in the middle of that. Like, I don't know. It would feel like I'm taking space from someone else who maybe needs it more.
Correct. And
in that
also,
space.
and also, I feel like as if you have a group of women, we can talk in a specific way, and then as soon as a man comes in, it feels like it's a vibe shift. And we
Yeah.
don't want to do that. But at the same time, like, I feel like that's also where like internalizing all that stuff comes in. If you are
Mhm.
comfortable with yourself, you will not feel othered unless somebody is specific. Even
Yeah.
if honestly, sometimes people are othering you. And I think if you are comfortable in the alternative outfit, going to a space where like maybe it's not made for alternative stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the rainbows and sunshines and you're dressed in a gothic style, in an alternative style. If you have like
Mhm.
whatever, they probably will not look at you crazy. You're just going to observe every time they do look at you
Yeah,
because you're more noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going to be more noticeable in
Yeah.
a room.
But that's on your own confidence
Mhm.
on taking that, feeling it, and letting it go.
Yeah.
And I think like there are times where that is going to happen and you're going to stick with it and you're going to be like, I'm not going to these spaces. And that's valid.
Yeah.
That is 1000% valid.
As
But
long as you're not.
also don't accuse other people of othering you when that was not their intent.
Yeah, and I also just think, like, I don't know, some places are gonna feel like home for some people.
Yeah.
And I think especially as entertainers and as like artists, I don't know, really entertainers, period. As entertainers, especially in the queer community, I think like it's really this weird, like, I wouldn't say territorialism, but there is some territorialism, I think, in the community. But also, like, I don't know, I feel like you find venues or you find places that like they just like get you and you feel heard. And it's hard to feel that way with other ones always, like, especially me, like, well, now I sound like I'm like victiming myself. That's not what I'm trying to do. But like sometimes like being an alternative queer artist that is like hairy but still dresses femme, like, I don't know what's the level that people are going to always be able to handle with me. Like sometimes I be getting half naked. And then like sometimes I'm like, this isn't the place for me to get half naked, and that's okay. but also I know that I'm only allowed to be 70% of who I am, in that
Yeah.
space. And I don't always love that. It doesn't mean that space is awful because of that. It just means like time and place. There's a time and place,
But
right?
I feel like that happens even without like entertaining and stuff like that. Kind of in
Yeah.
the sense of like I talk loud. I am a
Yeah,
loud person.
exactly.
I talk like this. Like I
If you're
am
in a,
going to do this. If
yeah.
I go to the library and it's not book club night when there's nobody else is there, I'm gonna have to talk like this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to be more subdued. And that's okay. Same thing as like I'm not gonna go to the library dressed like I did for Pride. That would be very
Yeah.
uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that people see on a daily basis, so they'll be uncomfortable and then I'll be uncomfortable because I'm getting stared at. That's not meaning that I'm less of me. It's just me saying this is the version of me that I'm okay with this group seeing. I think that's the
And that's,
reframing that I need to do
yeah.
in my brain when I do it is it's not them choosing how much of me they want to see. It's me choosing which version of me I'm okay with this group
And
seeing.
once again, there shouldn't be any space where that, I
Is
mean,
expected.
I don't know, where that is expected or where, especially based on like things as simple as race. I think that is something that as a society and a culture as a whole, we need to work on. I think, like, I don't know, like, I just wish that there was more of a way where we could feel more integrated, where everybody
Yeah.
could feel safe. And I don't know,
The only way to
I
do that
don't
is
know.
communication.
Yeah. And I think,
That's literally the only way.
I'm not, yeah. I'm like stumbling over my words because I'm like, how do we solve the problem? But I think it really is communication
And
and
learning each other.
inclusivity and inviting people in rooms where they're not normally at.
Yeah.
Or
And then if you are invited and you're uncomfortable, either communicating that with the person
yeah,
that brings you and say, "Hey, I'm not comfortable here. Can we try and do this in a different type of setting?"
yeah,
Or saying, "Okay, I'm not comfortable here, but I'm going to be uncomfortable so that the next group of people who comes in is comfortable."
yeah,
And I
exactly.
think that's something we have to do as queer people, as a woman, right? Like as a trans person, like we have to do that. We have to be okay with being uncomfortable, and that's something that like people in our society are not comfortable doing,
Yeah,
and validly so. I
yeah,
understand it.
invalid.
We're already
Yeah,
uncomfortable because of so many other things, but there's the purposeful
yeah,
discomfort saying, at least I'm making space for somebody
yeah.
else.
And it's even like now, like I think part of the thing that held me back in my own, I don't know, it just made me think of this, like a little bit of a tangent, but like me now, like softy transitioning and being more mask presenting, and a lot of like, I'm still femme, obviously, but like in a lot of my physical attributes, like I look more masculine and I'm more bending those binaries. So now it's like, okay, I'm allowed to be in a space with a man,
Mm.
with other men, and like have my nails done. I'm allowed to like wear my short shorts. I'm allowed to be more femme in these spaces. I'm allowed to go to the gym and lift weights and still have my nails did and things like that.
I don't
And
know how you can lift weights with those nails, but
you
fine.
can, but like things like that. And honestly, I'd be lying if I didn't say that every time I have an interaction with a man that I'm not sure, like,
Yeah.
it's still something I'm working to decondition with myself. Every time I have an interaction with any man, genuinely, I'm like, oof, what are they going to say? What's the reaction going to be? What's the I'm like over analyzing every little thing. And they could have just had a bad day, but I'm going to make it about me, which
Well, that's
also circles back around to it being a little bit like you have to get out of your own head and you have to stop thinking. I mean, we all think through our own lens and we're all our main character, but
step back for a second,
step back
be
for a second.
objective, and realize that like it's probably not you. 90% of the time, it's probably not you.
Yeah.
90% of the time, it's they were fucking wedgie or
Yeah.
something like that. Like, or their grandma died.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing to do.
Yeah. But 10% of the time, it will be about you. And
then,
someone
yeah,
will
be
call
okay
you
with
a
that,
slur.
and
Yeah. And people will be shitty and people will, make you uncomfortable. And it's just being able to really objectively look at the situation and make sure that whatever side that you're claiming it's on is the right one. Because I think,
or just being willing to just
yeah,
figure out your own
yeah,
reaction, your natural reaction to it, and just filtering through the lens and
yeah,
being okay with how you react, whether it was the 90% or the 10%.
yeah, exactly.
Because I think you can't control anybody else.
Yeah, you can't.
You can decide you want to slap them in the face.
Mhm.
You could decide you want to press charges. You could decide that you don't want to work with them again.
Yeah,
Or you could decide to have a conversation with them.
yeah. And that's all up to you. It's everybody's choice.
And it depends on the situation. Like,
Depends on the situation.
duh.
But as we're like rounding out to our hour point and like closing this out, in my like final, like, I don't know, words of wisdom, whatever the fuck you want to call it, or summarizing, there's so much nuance to everything. Everybody has their own right to do what they want to do. If you don't want to work with us because of XYZ, if you don't agree with us working with a venue, that's your right. That's valid. And nobody's going to fault you for that.
Yeah.
But we're doing the best that we can do. We're looking at the situation the best that we can, and we will continue to do that. And that's all that we can do. At the end of the day, we are two humans trying to make space for the community. And it's not always easy. It's not always pretty. I mean, when you're doing something that hasn't been done a lot, it's usually not pretty because you do have to stumble publicly and you do have to fuck up because there's not a blueprint and there's nobody telling you, hey, this is how you do this. So yeah, give us grace.
Yeah.
We'll give you grace and
come talk to us. I mean, like,
yeah,
we definitely want to get to know more people and we definitely want to get to know everybody's ideas on things. We will accept them. We love them. We want to hear
yeah,
them. If we don't take it, that doesn't mean we don't like you. It just means that we need to do something differently than you
yeah,
would do it. Like everybody's going to go about this differently. And if you have an idea of how to do it that differs from us, do it.
yeah,
We want to see you do it. We want to
yeah,
see you
do it.
thrive, succeed, do everything that you can do. But yeah, I think like
But yeah,
we,
bring it to us, talk
yeah,
to us. But that also, like, Rebecca said, doesn't mean that it's not that we're not going to hear you. Like, I promise that I will give you I'll give you the thought, the time of day and like hear you. But that doesn't mean we're going to always agree either. It
yeah,
doesn't mean just because you bring something to us, we're going to be like, yep, you know what? That's right. Let me change everything.
yeah. Because also
It might not.
you might not know all the moving pieces
Yeah.
that we know, or vice versa. And so like we're willing to learn from you if you're willing to learn from us. I don't know. We just want to see this grow. We want to see, and like we want to see it grow, not even for the sense of like our business.
Yeah.
We want our business to grow, yeah, for sure, because we want to be able to start paying ourselves and
Yeah.
paying people so we can keep doing this, yes. But also, I think we just want to see this community grow and get more united
Yeah.
so that we can battle this thing that's happening to us,
And
whether
like,
that's through joy or whatever. You're fine.
yeah, and we started this because when I came like one, to spread joy and
Yeah.
positivity, but also the queer community in North Carolina is so vast and it's something that nobody is talking about. And I want to see more people popping up all over the country, like doing shit like this.
Yeah.
I wish that there were people all over the South, all over the country that are like, let me show you this local scene here. Because the nightlife and just the queer culture in cities is such a unique experience, I think, from city to city. And I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing that I think
Hmm.
more people should be able to see. When I moved to North Carolina, I thought when my partner said, oh, I'm going to UNC, like, we're going to move to Raleigh. I was like, why are we moving to Raleigh? I want to go to New York City. You can't go to NYU. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, what's in Raleigh? What's in North Carolina? I don't understand. And a few years passed and we bought a house here because there's so much more than like a lot of people are able to see.
We can't let what's happening shut us all down to the point where like it's like if we're not perfect we can't talk, or if we're not doing this the exact same way as somebody thinks that we should do it, then we can't do anything, because then we're going to lose that community aspect that
Yeah.
like is those like cultures that are in each city and not be able to share that and pass it on to the next generation. And so like I think honestly, in my opinion, though I do also want to spread joy, want to spread love, want to like create that community, I want the history.
Yeah, that's what I was
I want
saying.
the history to be there for the next people. And that doesn't mean like my voice specifically or Koe's voice specifically.
Yeah, no.
That's why we have so many guest articles in the magazine, and that's why we're doing so many interviews, because it's like you can't erase all of that. There's no way. So like let's share it. Let's get it out there so that younger people coming up have access to it that we might not necessarily have had from our elders because of many different reasons.
Yeah. And also, friendly reminder for anyone listening or watching, hate is an indicator of success. So I will leave you with that.
I thought you were about to say, and by the way, we would like to interview you too.
But we will. Interviews are open on our website. You can
Yeah.
go to queerlina.org/contact. That will have our submission form. That will have our interview form. Sign up.
Yeah.
We definitely want to hear more voices. No story is too boring to hear.
Every story is unique.
And the more we're able to lean in the community, the better. Also, we have some fun stuff coming up in July and August. If you are in the Raleigh area, Raleigh Brewing Company on July 20th, we'll have our Pumpkin Pints live singing drag show and market. So everyone will be doing live singing drag numbers. There will be at least one live singing drag number per artist, except for myself because I'm not a singer and I'm a producer and I can do what I want. Love y'all.
I'll be there too. I'll be at the
Rebecca will
table
be
selling
there.
magazines.
Yes, and we're getting a really good lineup of vendors. Maybe even see some little kitty cats there. And not Kai and drag, other people. If you were there, you would know what I mean. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. But anyway, so Pumpkin Fights, July 20th. And then July 20th, you can find us at Little Blue Bakehouse with Are You Gonna Grab the Book?
Oh,
That was so
Oh
bitchy.
my
I'm so
God.
sorry.
Are you gonna grab the butt?
You can find us for our queer book club at Little Blue Bakehouse in Raleigh.
It's the last Tuesday of every month, starting at 6:30. Little Blue Bakehouse. Come join us. And for this first month, the author will be there. So you can meet her, maybe have her sign your book. I don't know. She didn't say she was gonna sign things, but I'm just gonna ask her anyway. Yeah, you should read it. I haven't started mine yet, but I'm really excited.
Really fun things coming up. Thank you all for all the support. Feel like ending this on a positive note, like I know we both are like beyond grateful for where
Yeah.
we're at. And when we started this, I don't think we really like we had a feeling about it, but I don't think we ever anticipated it snowballing so fast and getting the support that we've gotten from the community.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people, thank you truly, honestly, from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah.
We love you. And we'll see y'all in the next one. And before we go, make sure to follow us on our socials. You can find us at queerline.org on Instagram and Facebook. Everywhere else, you can find us on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram at We Are Nasty Queer and Queer Vision Mag.
Spotify? You're probably already watching this on
You're
Spotify or
probably
on
watching
YouTube.
this on Spotify or YouTube. Maybe Apple Podcasts, maybe another podcast. I don't know. If you want to follow my personal, which I never plug, it's ITZKOEE. It's not hard to find if you follow the Carolina. You can probably find Rebecca too. That smile make people wonder, right?
Yeah, that is it.
Her.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should follow us.
You should. Like, why not?
I don't know why you're not. Actually. Maybe you should just like join the contact page too, so we can like send you everything. So you could like, if you're a vendor, you'd have access. If you're like, you know what, I'm a poet, but I'm not ready yet. In 5 months when you're ready, it'll come straight to your inbox. Just saying.
Maybe that.
Just saying. Yeah, I know it's in here. Anyway, okay. Thank you so much.